Vă salut din nou pentru ultima sesiune a acestei zile în cadrul Tech Expo, unde o să vorbim despre fashion, despre modă. Subiectul nostru e Where Fashion Meets Technology și o să vorbim cu Anouk Wipprecht, fashion designer, inginer și inovator din Olanda. Anouk, welcome to the stage.
Thank you so much.
We'll just introduce you for a while in Romania so that people know a little bit about you. But now the floor is yours, and please introduce yourself and share your presentation also.
Perfect, I will do that. I think when I start to share my presentation, I will be out of the screen for a little bit, so apologies for that. So my name is Anouk Wipprecht. I am from the Netherlands originally, and I live in Miami. So I live and I work from the USA, United States. You can find me online. My name is Anouk Wipprecht, and you can find me online on social media, or if you have like any questions in specific about technology or about sensors, or you want to get started with technology in any way, feel free to drop me a message out here or on LinkedIn or something. I'm happy to help you on the way, or send you some websites where you can find some more information to get into this kind of stuff. My work revolves around fashion and technology, like Dimitri already mentioned, and I combine the two. So I work with microcontrollers, with sensors, with little computer boards, and also with fashion. I started fashion design when I was 14 years old. When I was 17 years old, I got fascinated and interested in robotics, and that is what I have been combining. So what I do is I combine sensors, for example, on the body, and I measure things. So I measure the space around the body, so the intimate, the personal, the social, and the public space. This is called, in this case, the proxemics theory. It has been developed by Edward T. Hall in the 60s. And he was measuring these spaces of different people. He was really interested that different people have personal spaces. And he was measuring them with an analog, like a wooden stick. So I took his research at the half of 2000s, and I built that into my ultrasonic rangefinders, for example, in my proximity sensors. And I can sense up to 8 meters with these sensors. And then I connected back to my design. So this is, for example, the robotic spider dress that I created when I was working at Intel in 2015. It has the proximity sensors in the front. And when somebody steps in the personal space of this design, the design is reacting. There are robotic parts, so servo motors, like little motors on the shoulder blades of this design. And when the proximity sensor is measuring somebody in a personal space, it gives a little signal to these motors to start to animate, and they're basically attacking. So they're attacking somebody that comes into the personal space. I don't like to do this just in one way. It would be really boring when something is detected and the system is attacking. I created something called 12 states of behavior. So depending on the interaction with the dress, how fast you walk up to this dress, it's reacting in different ways. Sometimes more aggressive when you walk up very close, very fast. Sometimes more elegant if you walk up like slower, for example, and anything in between those states. So here you can see a little bit of that mechanism. Sometimes I like to hide my electronics to not show all the wires and the cables, and sometimes I like to show it. Sometimes for me, showing it is really educational, because if I want to explain this design to my grandmother or my niece or something like that, I can just easily say, okay, do you see this? These are the sensors, they go into the back piece, all the servo motors are going into the back piece, the battery is connected, and I can almost really show exactly how this design is built, because you can see all the wiring from the outside. And sometimes I use that aesthetic of all those wires. At other points I might like to hide it so you don't see it. But here you can see the back piece, so all the sensors and all the motors going into there. You can see the respiration sensors in the side, and also the proximity sensors in the front. I presented this with Intel at CES in 2015, and we also created these robot spiders that kids could program, and they could make them dance almost. So here you can see the system one more time. And this is another dress of mine. It's the Sensoric smoke dress. So just like the spider dress, it has sensors as well, but in this case it senses things in the direct surroundings, and it measures how many people there are in those direct surroundings. So the more people that are in this direct surrounding, the more smoke will come from this dress. So it's based on another animal. It's based on the octopus. So when the octopus gets scared, it might dive away. So it's a very emotional reaction almost, but also a very visual reaction. So I built that basically as the interaction into the dress. So the smoke dress is inspired by the octopus or the inkfish. This product was in 2012, so that was 10 years ago for Volkswagen, the car company, at a big car show in Germany. Here you can see the design in my studio. So when you're making a design, you're testing out a lot of things. Here I was testing out the smoke. You can have low hanging smoke, medium hanging smoke, high hanging smoke, and it really depends on the space, what kind of smoke I use. The system is 600 grams and is a hot nozzle with silicon-based fluid that I push through it. So here you can see the end result. The dress is fully 3D printed from PA12 and TPU, thermoplastic polyurethane. And this was during the showcase with Volkswagen. So it was a collection of dresses, and they were all electronic, and they were all reactive to the sound and the music and their movements. And the smoke dress was basically the main design, was the eye catcher. I also made another dress. It's a robotic cocktail dress. So you push on a button and a cocktail is being served. I created that for Cirque du Soleil. Cirque du Soleil we know from the theaters, but they also do. I collaborate with them a lot at things like fashion weeks and all of that stuff to see how we can make these ideas seep into the real life and step out of the theater into the real life almost. So this dress has a peristaltic pump, and it's in the back piece of the design. And when you push the button, this motor part is moving and pushes the liquids to the front, basically. So I created it for Cirque du Soleil for this restaurant in Ibiza called Heart Ibiza. That's where you see the front piece has also the same style as the logo of Heart Ibiza. And they're basically walking around. We also have male model, male sort of suits now that are making cocktails, but they're in pink, gold, white, and black, and they're walking basically through the restaurant and serving these drinks. So it's a really playful thing almost. So my research is about if and when we put technology on the body, what does it do? How can it become more social and playful, like the cocktail dress? How can it become more defensive and behavioral, like the spider dress? And how can it become more expressive and sensitive, for example, like the smoke dress? I myself have over 80 to 100 different projects that are all based on the body and the electronics. So I have about 100 different case studies about this, but these are just to point out a few of them. And really seeing fashion as an interface. I got really interested in fashion from the beginning because you can really express and communicate something special about yourself, I think, through fashion. And so, if that becomes digital and interactive, then that's just super cool, I think. And 20 years ago, I started to work on this. In the beginning of 2000, there was a time that, of course, technology was not as small as it is now, and not as easily to put on the body. We're now living in really great times that we can do that with really small pieces of technology almost. I do a lot of collaborations, like I already mentioned. This is collaboration for Audi in where in 2016 they had a new car coming out, the Audi A4, and they asked me to create a collection based on that. So what I did was I took out the parking sensors of the car and I put them in the dresses, and also the high power LEDs of the car I put in the dresses as well. So a lot of these dresses were like interactive. Some were bursting out of each other, shining lights. Here you can see the projection map dress. So a dress based out of polygons that was being mapped upon while the models were walking over the catwalk almost. So with the Audi show was during the Berlin Fashion Week, I had access to 6 power walls, and this is a part of that show. Another thing that I do is I work with prosthetics, so even like almost inside of the body. My collaborator there is bionic pop artist Victoria Modesta, who lost her leg when she was basically earlier in life. And instead of hiding her prosthetic leg and sort of almost being ashamed of it, or any of those thoughts that some people might have, sort of, she really wants to showcase her leg. And she's really a big advocate for the disability community, for people that are differently abled. She really wants to provoke people to show their prosthetics. So a few things that I worked on with her is like an almost a prosthetic spike leg that was lightening up for her Crazy Horse show in Paris. And also this smoke leg at the right side. She steps in it and basically the smoke comes out, and it's based on the smoke dress. Another thing that I did with her was called Sonifica. You can find the movie online. It was a piece based on sonification of music, and there's an accelerometer in her leg. So when she moves her leg, she can make music, and then she can sonify that music using this tusk design that she's wearing, and also a band with 3D printed instruments from Studio Monad behind it. So
what
also
I love
this
about working
part.
with Victoria, she's just such a badass. She's not scared of anything, and for me, this leg is really resembling that notion of Victoria. It's an opportunity to put a lot of like cool technology in there, and in this case, a really tiny Tesla coil in the heel of the shoe. So a leg that does something that is not there just for the function. It also has the function of being a sort of a technological marvel. This is the raised carbon fiber from Rollroyce, which was for me a really interesting process because something that I have not worked with before. So the frontal part has the engine of the Black Badge, really merging technology and fashion in such a different way.
So that was our latest product. So yeah, a small Tesla coil into the leg, which you can see here and also in the video. And here you can see some more of that build. So the shoes had like this little Tesla coil in the heel, and all the electronics were built into the sole of the shoe. So here you can see some of that, some of the design. And of course, it's wireless. But that was a product for Rollroyce. Rollroyce had a new car coming out. That was 2 years ago. And that's how we collaborated on this project. And it became the smallest Tesla coil ever built. So that was kind of a really cool thing there. The last part that I will talk to you about is not only connecting the surroundings to the body and to these designs, but also using body signals. So if you think of body signals, there's a lot of signals that you can take from the body that you can use as an input. So the body signal might be the input, and something that is happening might be the output, right? So for example, brain signals, so in the head area, muscle contraction or EMG, skin conductancy, so galvanic skin response or EDA. long volume, the way we use our breath and our breathing, sort of, is really interesting to get emotional data out of. The place in space and the movement, so the accelerometer, like in Victoria, her leg that I just presented, the heart rate and the heart volume, and other things like temperature and oxygen, and many more things. You can connect a lot of interesting things from the body. So one way that I used brain signals is this device that I created when I was working at Ars Electronica. I was an artist in residency, so they invited me to come over for 1 month or 2 months to work at their laboratory, and then to do a project. The project was sponsored by Sparks, by the European Commission. And instead of making a dress, what I wanted to do, and this was 2016, I wanted to make a device. And it became a device for children with ADHD. So children that, are a little bit more sort of excited for the world than maybe another child. And I wanted to show them how their brain works, and that anything and everything around them has an effect on them. So what I did was I built a little camera in the headset, which became a unicorn horn, to really work on this really playful aspect that I mentioned before. Because I think, technology should not only be intellectual, intelligent, but it should also be really playful, especially if you work with children. So I used the unicorn horn for this, so they already became almost magical. I put a little camera in there. And then my next step, instead of measuring a child in a white room with a doctor with 64 electrodes on the head, I wanted, again, a really playful setting. So a unicorn horn that they could themselves put on and off, sort of not a white room, but just an house-like environment, and also limiting the amount of sensors being used while still having correct, meaningful data. And I think that's the important part of this project, to really, again, make it really playful. And because one of the reasons is, like, if you measure a child that is not themselves, that's not a child themselves, sort of, you don't get really super reliable data as a researcher neither. So it's not comfortable for the child. And as a researcher, you don't have the child in a really playful state. So one of the points was to have this 1020 system of medical EEG, to single it out to 8 electrodes, which you can see here, putting that back into the headset to test it, if we could create and get reliable data on the focus level from these 8 electrodes. That worked in the end. So in the end, it became this device that was measuring children's brain signals, and then was recording with using the camera when the focus was going on. It recorded with the camera what was going on in the environment. When you're prototyping, technology looks maybe like this. It looks like a Frankenstein kind of thing. You might have things mounted up on, sort of, especially if I'm testing things, I'm not going to worry about how it looks. And then basically you're going to build everything in, all the wires, and then you make it look pretty. So from that notion, we actually, the company that I worked on closing out this system to be a medical grade system, only using 8 electrodes, we brought it out as a product with the company GTech. So if you go to unicornbi.com, you can find the brain computer interface, the unicorn. And it's basically for makers that still want to have access to medical data. And we also created an hackathon, brain.io hackathon, GTech, which was inspired by H Unicorn. So it happens all over the world. So check out this website if you're interested in EEG, and it might come to your country as well. And also I know that we've been doing some like digital hackathons, like GTech has been doing those as well. So I think my time is up. If you have questions, you can ask them here. You can also find me, you can send me an email, or you can find me through my contact details. And especially if you want to know more about electronics and how to get started, send me an email, and I can give you just some recommendations, like look at this controller. This might be something for you, especially if you are getting started with hardware. Arduino is a really cool platform. So go to arduino.cc. And that's really basically a simplified language of C++, but you can easily sort of code this programmer and work with motors and lights and all of that stuff. So that was it.
Yeah, thank you, Anouk. Very interesting. And it's very interesting that you didn't quite receive any questions, but a lot of congratulations and of comments.
Wow.
There's not actually one question, but everybody's saying wow, these lighting outfits would be nice for pedestrians, for visibility in the night, or simply congrats, it's great, or that this is also good for Burning Man Festival.
Yeah. Cool, awesome.
Okay, so I'm glad that I attended such a good presentation, and congratulations on my side too.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and yeah, good luck with the tech week. It sounds really cool. So that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.